Wise Guy Wednesday on the morning show, and this week we're talking about the moon and how it affects the tides. Matt Sellen is with us. He's our wise guy, and as always, he's come up with a great demonstration to explain some of this stuff for us.
Well, the moon actually causes the tides, at least most of the tides. The sun also causes them a little bit. But here's how it works, and this is wonderful, by the way. I found this in my shed last night.
And you just thought,
and it just happens that it's about the right size compared to the Earth. This is the Earth. Okay, the moon is about this size. It's about a quarter of the diameter of the Earth, okay. And it's about 10 moon diameters away. So if we hold the moon over there, you are the moon. It would be a little farther away, but then it might be hard to see. So what happens is the Earth is mostly water, which is kind of squishy stuff.
Yeah.
And because gravity is strongest when you're closer to something than when you're farther away from it. Since this side of the Earth is closer to the moon than the other side of the Earth is, what you have is you have the moon pulling harder over here than it is over here.
Okay.
Okay? And so that kind of causes the Earth to swell out a little bit towards the moon. I mean, it doesn't swell very much. It's like a foot or something like that. But what happens is you get sort of a swelling, a pulling of the stuff on this side of the Earth towards the moon. And because this side is farther away, the gravity is weaker there, so it kind of sloshes out and it swells out on that side too. So it sort of falls away from the moon.
So this is part of the reason why the Earth kind of bulges at the middle then, right?
Well, the Earth bulges,
yeah.
the Earth is also spinning, so that causes it to bulge a little bit. Okay. So the tides are a little bit different, but you get a bulging towards the moon and you get a bulging away from the moon, because over here the gravity is weak, over here it's stronger than it is sort of pulling on the middle of the Earth.
Okay.
Okay, so this is due to the Earth or the moon pulling on the Earth. And this is what it would look like. I mean, not exactly like this. This is pretty cheesy pool noodles that I cut up.
Be the red tide.
Right. But the Earth is spinning. Okay, so this is kind of interesting. So what happens as the Earth spins underneath these tides, the tides move around the planet.
So the tides essentially stay stationary
with respect to the moon.
With respect to the moon, the Earth kind of rotates.
Right, and so you get 2 high tides a day in most places and 2 low tides a day, because you have these 2 lumps that seem to move around the Earth. Now here's the really interesting part. The Earth kind of drags these tides along with it. Okay, and so what happens is, since the moon is pulling on this tide over here backwards a little bit, it slows the rotation of the Earth a tiny, tiny bit. So what happens is, as time goes on, 100,000 years from now, the day will be a couple of seconds shorter than it is now. Which doesn't seem like much, but the Earth is about 4 billion or 4.5 billion years old, so that means that back a long time ago when the Earth was young, it was spinning a lot faster, and the days were about half as long as they are now, as far as people can tell.
So in 100,000 years, we're going to have to reset our watches and calendars.
Well, we reset them all the time, actually, because they have very accurate clocks now. And the other thing that this causes is that the moon is actually getting farther away from the Earth by a couple of centimeters every year. It's due to the same physics effects of energy being transferred from the Earth to the moon and angular momentum being conserved and stuff like this. It's pretty interesting.
All right, so now we know how tides work. Now, does this affect lakes and everything?
Well, it affects even the tide. You even have tides on lands. I mean, so the land itself bulges, but not by very much. And so you notice it most in the oceans, because the oceans slosh around, and the shape of the ocean floor determines where all the water goes.
I feel myself bulging sometime. I'm going to blame that on the moon. Hey, if you've got a question for the wise guy, you can email him here at the station to the morning show at wcia.com. You can also leave a message on our feedback line, and be sure to check out Matt's website, wiseguy.net, and he'll answer any questions. Now, we have a question for next week.
Right, so next week, Nancy Blanford of Urbana from Yankee Ridge Elementary, they send in a question. They want to know why lasers are red.
Okay.
And so we're going to talk about that next week.
Excellent. Well, we'll have that next Wednesday. Jennifer, Matt?